Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
Attention, if you are a frustrated man who feels like he is not getting the results he wants in his life, health, wealth, relationships, and personal growth, then I've got a powerful free video training for you to help you become a strong, grounded man so you can unlock unlimited power in your life, business, and relationships. Go to kfmconfidence.com to get instant access to this training. Again, that's kfmconfidence.com. If you want a Cliff Notes version of the best material that I've learned after 300 interviews on this podcast about being a stronger, more powerful man, then it's all here at kfmconfidence.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with Rich Litvin. He helps take high-achieving entrepreneurs, Olympic athletes, presidential candidates, Hollywood film directors, special forces to the next level in their life, business, and relationships. He's also the co-author of one of the best-selling books, The Prosperous Coach, best-selling books for different coaches, really helping people understand how that industry works and helping them get to the next level in their coaching practice. Rich, I'm happy to have you here on the show.
Me too, Andrew. I've been listening to a few episodes of your show to get ready, so I love what you're up to.
Oh, man. Your mind must be blown away by the knowledge you're learning on the Knowledge for Men podcast.
It's good stuff, especially I listened to a couple that you've done yourself just to get to know you. It's been fun hearing what you're up to.
All right. Sounds good. Let's dive in, Rich. We start off every show with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying that you've lived by that's helped you on your journey. Share with us what you got and what that means to you.
Yeah, it's not so much a quote as a distinction. So distinctions are what help separate high achievers from the rest of the people in their field, whatever they're up to. I'm not a wine drinker. If you're like me, you have a couple of distinctions around wine. It's white or it's red, or it's expensive or it's cheap. You start to learn about wine and you have all these different distinctions, the quality of the wine, where it's from, the vineyard and so on. So I've learned to create distinctions in my life around different areas. The one that's really served me a lot is around confidence. Confidence is a result, not a requirement. Confidence is a result, not a requirement. I meet so many people who are chasing confidence. If only I could be more confident. If only I could be more confident, then I'd quit my job. I'd leave my girlfriend. I'd get a better job. I'd say this to my boss. I'd get higher paying clients. But confidence doesn't work like that. Confidence as a result. It comes later. You cannot have had confidence about the success of this podcast before it began.
No, please. I hope you didn't listen to any of the old ones. I got scared. You're like, I was listening to older episodes. I hope not too far back, but
I love that. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're afraid of that. We have to go through it. So confidence is a result, not a requirement. And I never got that. I spent much of my life seeking confidence. If only I was more confident.
What did that look like? Chasing confidence?
I felt powerless for so much of my life. I lacked confidence. I was nervous. I was insecure. I was a people pleaser. I'd say what I thought you wanted to hear rather than speaking my truth and owning what was important to me. Yeah, that was a tough part of my life.
And so now today, you don't chase confidence, you understand that confidence is a result. What does that look like now today?
It means a combination of things. It means sometimes I'm relaxed, I have confidence, I just know what I'm doing, and I feel confident to speak my truth. It means that other times, still in any moment, I get nervous, I get insecure, I'm not sure what to do. I'm a bit of an introvert, so I can be confident in certain situations, but I walk into a party, I get nervous, I don't know who to speak to. So at any moment, I have ups and downs on that.
What is that like? So you're Rich Litvin, you're the confidence, you're the coach, you're the guy who helps Olympic athletes and presidential candidates. And when you start feeling some of those insecurities yourself, what's going on through your mind? Do you tell yourself, I'm Rich Litvin? Do you accept what's happening? Is this normal?
Yeah, I haven't met many people who don't, in some area of their life, lack confidence.
Yes.
Or in some, it doesn't matter what. I've worked with people who manage hedge funds with multiple millions of dollars, huge income, friends with all sorts of leaders at the highest of levels, still feeling insecure on the inside. And so some people have natural confidence. Some people, it comes and goes. I don't worry about it anymore. If I'm not feeling confident, I'll speak it out in the moment. I've been on stage when I'll walk on and I'll realize, oh shit, I'm feeling a lot of energy right now. And I'll tell the audience.
With the mic on. With the mic on. This is not behind the stage. This is in front of everyone.
I'll say that. Look, I'm not going to come on stage and say, oh my God, guys, I'm terrified. But I will speak. Oh, I'm not sure. You've asked me a question. I'm not sure how to answer that right now. And the moment I speak my truth, then I relax. Because then I'm in truth. Then I'm fully present. I'm here with you speaking my truth. And we just get to connect.
What does that mean? Speaking truth versus not speaking your truth when you're hiding? What's the difference there for the audience to understand?
That's a long time in coming for me, but learning to be, the word authentic has become a bit of a buzzword these days. But for me, authentic is when Mahatma Gandhi had a good line about integrity. He said, integrity is when what you think is the same as what you say is the same as what you do. So when you have that in alignment, then you're in integrity. Then you're authentic. So speaking my truth is noticing, hey, I'm nervous to be speaking to you right now. Or speaking to my truth is when I'm speaking to a client who's an extraordinary high performer and saying things to them that most people wouldn't dare to say. That's one of the things I find as a coach, working with top performers, they crave in their life. Someone who will actually speak truth to them.
Wow. I think for men, it's powerful, that integrity aspect as a value. And when someone's speaking their truth, I think for the other person or for the audience in your case, and in some situations, it makes people feel safe because you're in complete alignment. You're not lying. You're not wearing a mask.
Yeah. Vulnerability is very attractive because then you feel, every one of us feels some sense of vulnerability at some place in our life at some time. So when you have someone who shows up and is vulnerable, takes a risk, there's a connection you have there.
But wait a minute. What isn't vulnerability? Some might see it as weakness. Is it
traditionally,
weakness? Traditionally, yeah. What happens
traditionally, I think vulnerability is strength. Actually, vulnerability is power. And when you're willing to be vulnerable, vulnerability doesn't mean giving up. Vulnerability doesn't mean giving in. It means taking a risk, feeling everything you're feeling on the inside, and not being afraid to hide that. It's that willingness to be vulnerable shifts everything.
I think it makes it very real. And coming back to you here, like in your story, just briefly share with us what led you to doing the work you do now, and why? Why have you chosen this path? How did this happen for you? So many people would love to, what I just shared in your intro, that sounds like to many a dream. What did you do? What were the steps that you took that led you down that path?
This question is always an interesting one. I get asked this a lot in different ways because what did I do? I took one little step at a time. I had no clue where I was going. I left college and I had no clue what I wanted to do in life. I went off and traveled around India for a while just to put that off into the future. Came back to the UK, started working at a hospital as a personnel officer, human resources. I knew I liked people and discovered 6 months in that job bored the crap out of me. And it was all admin. And I went to a careers fair to help recruit people for that hospital. And I was so bored, I snuck off. There was a talk going on about teaching. And I sat in the back and thought, oh, this sounds interesting. And I quit the job the next day and I enrolled in a teacher training. 2 years later, I trained as a teacher. I went off to spend 2 years teaching in Africa, taught in Botswana for 2 years, taught kids in their third language. Science was my subject. Came back to the UK. I taught in inner city London. I taught in Brunei in Southeast Asia, helped to build an international school. Eventually I was a vice principal. And one day, 10 years ago now, I lost my job and went off to Thailand to lick my wounds. I was hurt. I was humiliated. It's hard losing your job. I mean, I'd only just arrived at the place. The new boss had arrived soon after and wanted her own team, but it still hurt. And I'm sitting on this beach in Thailand. And it turns out when people are on a beach, they just want to reflect on their life.
Yeah.
and I'd been trained for 2 years in coaching skills. So I had the skills and I'd sit and talk to people and they seemed to appreciate it. And somehow I had the insight, this is what I want to do. I came to the US to do a training about coaching, met a woman on a workshop, proposed to her 10 days later, and she's now my wife. That was almost 10 years ago. And we now have 2 little kids. So
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah. But it sounds like a cool story when I put it in context like that. But there are so many struggles and ups and downs and failures inside of that journey.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And what kept you going on that path? I mean, becoming a coach is not something, easy. A lot of people don't understand it. It's really starting, I feel like, to be more popular in the last 5 years or so. There's been a lot of struggles. I'm aware. What kept you going? You're an extremely talented guy. You could go get a job if you want. Why keep coaching?
I come back to when I came to the United States. I came to the US with this intention in my mind, and I never spoke it out loud to another living soul. I had this intention. I want to be one of the best coaches in the world. I want to train with the best coaches in the world. The best coaches in the world to be my buddies and my friends. I never spoke that out loud to anybody. I never wrote it down. That was just something inside of me. And I just started training. I started spending time with interesting coaches, learning from people. And I just knew that was my path. And I burnt my bridges too. I didn't want a road back. And this isn't the path for everybody, but it was the path for me. I had a house in London. Everybody said to me, don't sell the house. In fact, it was just before the housing crisis. Everyone said there's nothing safer than houses. I sold my house. The market was at the top.
Yeah,
and I can't say I was prescient. It wasn't like I knew what was coming.
Yeah,
I just knew I don't care if I lose all my money. I'm going to invest this in myself right now, and that's what I did. I invested in myself. I spent a year traveling around the world with Monique, my wife at the time.
Yeah.
We traveled all around the world. I coached all over the world, and this was my path. 5 years in, and I built a business by word of mouth alone.
Yeah.
And people had been asking me, how do you do that? And there came a moment with a friend of mine, Steve Chandler, who's a very successful author, said, hey, do you want to write a book together?
Yeah.
And we wrote a book for coaches called The Prosperous Coach, which is about just that. How do you build a business one conversation at a time? A lot of coaches are struggling right now because they come into the world and they think, well, I'd like to talk to people. I could be a good coach. We can all solve each other's problems, right? Yeah. Sit down with buddies in a bar. You can solve every one of their problems. But building a business, becoming an entrepreneur, that's not easy.
It's not easy at all. And just to highlight, burn the bridges. When I quit my job to do Knowledge for Men, which I had no idea, and I had no business doing this at all, quit my job. And I deleted my original copy of my resume. And I was one of those people who always updated the resume. As soon as I got a new job, I'd update. If I got an award or something I did with the community, I'd update the resume. It was like my life on this piece of paper. And I deleted the original copy. And it was something that it was an extremely emotional experience because I was telling myself that I'm never going to have to use this type of paper, this resume, to get a job or to get business again. I'm going to offer value through Knowledge for Men and go down this path. And I know it's not the path for everyone. I'm not telling people to quit their jobs. I don't think Rich is either, but it did give me that conviction that there's no going back here. You have to do this.
I love it. That's bold. It dawned on me the other day, actually. I don't know where my resume is anymore. It was literally, I'd lost my job as a teacher, went to Thailand for a few months, met Monique, proposed to her after 10 days, met her dad a few weeks later, who was like, who the hell are you? Like, who do you think you are proposing to my, they thought, they didn't know who I was. And he asked to see my resume. And I got it out very proudly to show my father-in-law my resume. And in 10 years, I've not looked at it since. What? But I love that you consciously destroyed it.
That's funny. That's hilarious. When you first said propose to your now wife, I thought you meant propose like you made an offer to her to do coaching at first. I was like, okay. I put it together. All right. Now to the present. So we understand, we've had some good value here so far in the show. Now, I think the question that people really want to know is, how do you help someone who is already a high performer? How do you help someone who's already at the top of their game? Wouldn't they be looking at you like, why don't I help you?
So there are a number of things that are true for really top performers that other people can't see. Here's the first thing that's true for all of us, but becomes more so as you become more successful. Everything you've done to make you as successful as you are today is precisely what's going to hold you back from your next level of success. So let me say that again so it just goes in. Everything you've done to make you as successful as you are today is going to hold you back from your next level of success. It doesn't matter who you are, what level you play. The challenge becomes the higher and more successful you become, it's harder and harder to see that. You become surrounded by people who admire you, who are in awe of you. And so you have people saying yes to you all the time. You have people saying the things that they think you want to hear. You have people saying things because they'll get a promotion, they'll get the next job, whatever it is. And so it becomes more challenging as you rise in the levels of success. And my experience is that people like that often want somebody who will sit down with them, give them a space to say all the things that they couldn't say out in the world, and keep that absolutely confidential. So that alone is powerful. Just someone who will listen to you and someone who will keep confidence. If you then have someone who has powerful coaching skills on top of that, who's able to ask the right questions, who's able to help you ask the right questions. The job of a great coach isn't to answer the questions of their clients. The job of a great coach is to help them to live into better questions.
So that they can start producing the right questions for themselves, like upgrading their operating system in a way.
I know all these people I work with who play at a high level, that they're top of their game. I don't need to be better at their game than they are. I just need to help them shift their gaze ever so slightly in this direction, or give them a better question to answer. Because if they're the best in the world at what they do. So answering the questions that they've got, they can do that. They're probably not asking the right questions. That's the way I play.
So someone who is hitting a peak, like they're at a high level, they're hitting a peak. What kind of questions would you want that person to start asking themselves to start getting to that next level, to break through that plateau?
So let me give you an example of something I call white knight syndrome. One of my clients he runs a multi-million-dollar nonprofit. It's an animal foundation, and he is a super high achiever, fantastic at bringing donations from people to create an amazing multi-millions of dollars of donations, has investors, has volunteers at the foundation. And here's the challenge: white knight syndrome. He's the hero in his own organization. So his team members defer to him all the time. They don't take action. They won't make decisions, because even if they do, they know he'll come in and save the day if things go wrong. So he's caught in this place where he can't move the organization beyond where it's gone right now. For it to go to the next level, he needs to be freed up to bring other people in to become the heroes in the organization. And until we'd begun our work together, he couldn't see this. He loved it. He was the hero of his organization. He was the white knight, come in and save the day. The team members loved it. So I went to work for him. That's why the volunteers showed up. That's why people donated money. And now they've got to this place where he has to step out of his own way.
And how hard is it for someone to make that decision, to get out of your own way? Because what he has been doing has been working, and it has got him to a...
That's the problem. What got you here won't get you there. Except you can't see it, especially if you play at a high level. Especially if you play at a high level, because whatever you've done to get to where... So one of the things that you might relate to that helps make us successful in the earlier stage of our career is really say yes to almost every opportunity. So just say yes constantly, because you never know where this little seed is going to land, going to grow. Keep saying yes. Then you get to a moment in your career where that no longer serves you. That will hold you back from what's really possible. Your actual job at that point becomes to say no to almost every opportunity. So you become the filter, choosing the things that are going to work for you to take your career in the direction you want it to go.
So what worked was saying yes to opportunity. That's an example. And then now saying no is actually going to give him more focus, him or her more focus in his or her life. And that's the new strategy.
So none of these are strategies that I'd say, okay, this is one for everyone. These are the one, at this level, I had to sit down and work out with somebody, spend hours and hours of time with somebody to find out exactly what it is. What's that tiny thing that's going to make the biggest difference to you? So what fascinates me is something I call the 4% rule. That phrase was coined by Stephen Kotler, who wrote the book, The Rise of Superman.
Yeah. And
he says, so he coaches high performance athletes, the kind of people who jump off a mountain in a wingsuit. Yeah. Now, that's life and death. This business can feel like life or death, right?
Yeah.
That is real life.
It's real life or death, yeah. I've seen his work.
And we know, because we feel this too, when we're in flow, that's when business takes off. When you're working on the podcast, editing, and at 3 a.m, you look up and, oh my God, I'm still here, but you love it so much that nothing will stop you.
Yeah.
You're in flow. So being in flow, we understand that's what it takes to be a high performer. These guys who jump off these mountains, surf the world's highest waves. When you're in flow, you're so present and so in the moment. That's what helps you perform at a high level. But to perform at a high level in a life or death situation and keep improving, you need to push yourself only 4%. 4% is tiny amount beyond where you are right now. So for most people on the planet who are not top performers, that's beyond what's possible for them. But for high performers, in whatever area it is, for high performers, the mistake we make is we try and push ourselves too far. I've got to do 40% more. And actually, it's 4%. The challenge is to identify the right 4%. And that's where a great coach comes in to help you work out where's the tiniest difference that's going to have an exponential effect. That's what interests me.
Yeah, it brings up this like kind of Kaizen, just like daily small improvements. Kaizen in it's Japanese for to improve oneself daily, but to add your own flair, just 4%. Little improvements add up over time. Are you finding that is how a lot of these high performing people that you work with got to their level?
So it's a little different, even though it's the small number is in there. For working with a high performer, it's identifying the right.
I see.
The right tiny percentage. Yeah, I'm aware of Kaizen, this tiny percentage. Darren Hardy wrote a book called The Compound Effect. There's a number of articles about that. There's a British cycling team who decided that they would improve every aspect of their performance by 1%, from the quality of the pillows they slept on at night to the tires on the bicycles. Every single aspect of their entire team's performance would improve by 1%, and they went to Olympic level within a couple of years. So that's a slightly different effect. This is about looking for you as an individual. What is the tiniest difference that's going to have an exponential effect? That's what I'm particularly interested in.
I like that. Really understanding what it like. It's almost like being a sniper of improvement.
Nice. Nice.
There you go. Another coined a term. Well, what do you think is really like holding people back? So not even talking about someone who's extremely high performing at the highest level of their game, but maybe someone who's listening to this and maybe they're struggling to relate with those types of Olympic athletes or serial entrepreneurs or someone flying off a cliff in a jumpsuit. Yeah. But if someone's just stuck and they set their goals in the year after year, they find themselves banging their head against the wall in the same position that they were in several years ago. What is the question or series of questions they should be asking themselves?
So the first thing would be, how often do you take time out to slow life down and to reflect on life? For me, it was back in, 1997? I read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And for the first time, week after week, I started to do a weekly review. I would just look at what's going well in my life, what's not going well. And I remember I'd done this for 4 weeks, and each time it was interesting. But it was on week number 4 when I sat down and read 4 weeks of reports in a row. And I didn't write much. I just wrote, this is going well, this is where I'm struggling, this is where it's going well, this is where I'm struggling, 4 times. Sit down to read a month's worth of weekly reviews. And I realized, oh my God, I didn't even know it, but 4 weeks in a row I've written, I'm watching too much junk TV. And even though I was aware of this, it wasn't until I sat down and saw this pattern that I realized what effect this was having on me. And so that alone, just taking time once a week, 30 minutes, go somewhere where you can have space and silence, where you can be alone and you can reflect on your life. And you can just ask something simple like, what's going well? Where am I struggling? And what would I like to achieve in the week ahead? And do the same a week later and a week later and a week later. And then as you begin to read through your notes, you'll see these patterns that you can't see when you're in it. Because when you're in it, all we have is this present moment, right? And so we forget. And so that's the first thing I'd say, is taking time to do some regular reflection.
I like that. What else could be some daily habits that someone could take a self-reflect, or other things that they could start doing to start identifying the setbacks, what's holding them back, so that they can break through in their life?
I have some heuristics. A heuristic is a rule of thumb. And these are rules of thumb that work for me in my life. These are phrases that play out for me that really serve me. So one of these is really simple. It's hell yes or hell no. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's I'm hiring somebody for the team, looking for a new opportunity for myself, buying a new shirt. Is it a hell yes? And if it's not a hell yes, I have to call it a hell no. I remember I was in a store a couple of years ago and I picked up 2 shirts. One I loved, I knew I want this shirt. The second one, I can't tell. The lighting's a bit funny in here. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll take it home and I'll show Monique, see if she likes it. And I realized, oh, well, it's not a hell yes. I have to put it back. I play it out with every opportunity in my life, hell yes or hell no. and it makes life really simple.
So there's no gray area.
There's no such thing as hell maybe.
Hell, maybe. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So there's no gray area, which means there's almost no settling going on.
Totally.
And if there's no settling, then we're only doing things that we are really jacked about, really excited about in our lives.
Totally. So I applied it to my business. In my business, I've worked out I have a zone of genius. The zone of genius is the 1, 2, or 3 things that I do extraordinarily well that only I can do. And when I do them, my business grows exponentially. So for me, that's coaching, creating, that's writing, making videos and so on, and spending time with extraordinary people. That's why you and I are talking.
I know. Exactly.
These are the only 3 things I'm allowed to do in my business. And I have an avoid at all costs list.
Oh, okay, great. What does that look like?
So I have a list of things that I am not allowed to do. I should not be doing. And other people in my team have to take that on and take those over. But do you know the story about Warren Buffett and where the avoid at all costs list comes from?
No, I don't.
It's a lovely little story. So Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men on the planet, talks to his pilot one day and says, hey, you've been working with me for 10 years and you're still here. I haven't served you enough. Like, you should have moved on, have something better to do. Can I help you? And the pilot says, wow, I'd love that. He said, okay, well, do you have a list of things you want to do in your life? And the pilot says, no. Okay, here's what you do. Go home and make a list of the top 30 things you'd love to do in your life. So he goes away and makes a list of all these things he'd love to do in his life. And comes back and sees Warren Buffett. And Buffett says, so what are the top 5 on your list? And the pilot says, I don't know. Goes away again and comes up, these are the top 5. And Buffett says to him, okay, these are your top 5. What about the other 25 on your list? And he pauses for a second and he reflects and says, you know what? They're not my priority, so I'll work on them when I have some spare time. I'll do them when other stuff clears up, when I'm less busy. And Buffett stops him and says, no, that's your mistake. Everything else other than the top 5 on your list just became your avoid at all costs list. And that for me is what it means to have an avoid at all costs list. Anything that's not on my top 5, my mission in life, my goals right now, has to either be delegated or put into a hell no bucket and leave for later.
So these are things you want to do, but it's not a priority. So it's avoid at all costs.
So even simple things, the other day, the printer broke on my computer. I thought I'll
challenge.
I'll try and fix it.
Yeah.
3 hours in,
no,
I shouldn't do this. So I called someone from TaskRabbit. You pay them a few dollars an hour and they'll come and fix your stuff. And I messaged somebody and then we had to do this whole back and forth around scheduling. And then they came and I had to supervise them because I was here and I realized, oh my God, I shouldn't even be allowed to do the organizing someone on TaskRabbit because this takes up hours of my time. And for me, 1 hour doing what I love, that energizes me, that has the capacity to bring in a great deal of money to really grow the business. So even some of the simple things in life, I have to find a way now that I don't do so that I can do the things that only I can do. That's how you create an extraordinary life and an extraordinary business.
So when we do this, we are actually only focusing our finite time and energy on things that really serve us, and we're staying in our genius versus doing things that we can do. We can do them, but they don't necessarily serve our ultimate goal or purpose. And
the real challenge is so we have a zone of incompetence and then a zone of competence. And above that, we have a zone of excellence. And finally, our zone of genius.
I see.
The challenge, zone of incompetence, we know what we're not good at. I can't fix a car. I can't pick up the hood of a car and that's just not my thing. I don't even think about it. Take a car to the garage. I have a zone of competence, things we can do that are okay. I can fix a computer if I need to. We have a zone of excellence. That's our challenge. The zone of the things you're pretty good at that take you away from the things that only you can do. So catching that distinction between the zone of excellence and the zone of genius is what really has an impact on life, on business.
What if you're someone who's good at a lot of things? They struggle to see, what am I excellent at? But they're actually like one of those jack of all trade type of guys, like, oh, I'm pretty good at a lot of things here.
So there's a place in life where that can be a useful skill. Being a Renaissance man means you can do so many things in life. If you're wanting to create a business around something that you're passionate about, at some point you have to dive in and go deep into an area. Otherwise, you can't take a business to the next level.
Yeah. What is some of while we're talking about, it seems like we're talking a lot about like growing the thing that we're passionate about. So let's say business. What would you say is some of the advanced stuff that you think about often that you're not sharing or teaching lately about growing your business, things that you think about and identify in your clients that you haven't really shared about in a book or on video before?
So one of the things that's really hitting me right now is this realization that my job is to make my clients the superheroes. It's not to be a superhero myself. It's to make my clients the superheroes. That's one of the ways you can really have a business become extraordinary, when you celebrate the successes of your clients. And so I'm putting a lot of attention on that. I run a group called 4PC. It's a group of the top 4% of coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders. And I celebrate these people every day. One of the members of the group is now coaching someone at NASA. One of them is a consultant with clients in the White House. My job is to celebrate these members of my community. One of them just created a video for men around relationships that's gone viral, had over 100,000 views. And my job is to celebrate my clients. That's been a game changer for me.
Celebrating them verbally? Are you sending them things? What does that look like when you actually celebrate your clients?
That means, well, both, but more so letting people know what my clients are doing in the world, really acknowledging them publicly, not trying to take credit for their successes, putting them front and center. That makes a real difference when you absolutely celebrate the successes of your clients.
Got it.
Internally in the business, similar kind of thing. The job of a leader is to create more leaders. That's the way I see my job. My job is to train the people in my company to become leaders themselves, which again frees me up to do the things that only I can do.
Yeah. What does your daily routine look like? I love seeing the projects people do, the big spurts, but what does a simple day, a regular day look like for yourself, including like when you wake up and your morning routine, and even if you drop off your kid to school? I getting a clear idea of what someone does, I learn a lot.
Well, dude, I'm smiling now because I love listening to people like Tim Ferriss who talk about these productivity rituals. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Okay.
So I wake up sometimes at 5 a.m. because my 2-year-old is crying.
Yeah.
Or I get up and the first thing I have to do is to make breakfast for the kids, to get one of my kids out to preschool, or I'm playing with my boys. I read to my boys. So it's putting my attention on my children right now. It's having fun with them. I'd love to say I get up and I meditate and I work out, and sometimes I do, but actually it's really putting my attention on my kids and having fun with them.
How does being a father, how did that change things for you professionally and personally when you had your first kids?
Oh, that was life-changing. I came across an article I wrote about 8 years ago, just this morning, called A Letter to My Unborn Son. And when I wrote it, I didn't even have any children. I hadn't planned to have kids at that point. And I was thinking about all the ways that if I had a boy, how I'd love to raise him. And really, I realized later after I'd written the article that it was a letter to myself. It was a letter to me about all the ways that I wish I'd been raised and how I could be different in life.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was very powerful to do that reflection. But having little kids, I'm in awe of my kids right now. One of my boys goes to basketball. He's 4 years old. He's in a basketball team. I've been taking the boys the last 2 weeks to a swim class every afternoon after they've finished preschool. And it's challenging for them. They've been in tears, afraid of the water. But I'm watching these brave little souls day after day do it until one day they're not crying any longer. And it's really amazing to watch them. I'm really loving watching my kids. They teach me so much more than I can teach them. Has
having kids reduced productivity, or has it increased productivity because you have less time actually?
I got to turn my fan on because we're in California and it's super hot in here right now. Tell me if the noise picks up on the microphone.
All right, that's fine, guys. He's got his fan on. It's hot in California. You're in Los Angeles?
I'm in Santa Monica. Yeah.
Santa Monica. Okay, I'm here in San Diego.
Oh, perfect. So say the question again.
Has having kids increased productivity, or has it decreased productivity?
So I don't like to focus on productivity. I think it's the wrong thing to focus on. I hired a coach a couple of years ago who was 23 years old, youngest guy I've ever hired as a coach. And
why did you hire the 23-year-old?
Because what he did was what I needed. Look, the year before, I was working with a man who charged $150,000 to coach clients. I had to not only pay him in advance, I had to fly to Phoenix and Arizona every 2 weeks for my coaching sessions.
Every 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I play at every different level, but this guy called himself a productivity coach. And I said, I don't need a productivity coach. I am more productive than most people you'll ever meet. What I need is a creativity coach. I want someone who can help me to be more creative. I don't need to be answering more emails. I need to be doing the tasks that only I can do. I need the tasks that are about output, not input. And so he helped me around that side of things. So having kids meant I couldn't do the things I've done for most of my life. I don't work before 9 a.m. I stop work by 5 p.m. I only coach 3 clients 3 days a week. I only work 3 weeks a month. I take 2.5 months off a year. I've created my life so I can I really believe in creating your lifestyle first and building a business around it.
How long did it take for you from the moment you decided this is how I want my life to look, to actually turn that into a reality?
One of my original coaches is a man called Michael Neal, and he has this concept he calls an ideal average day. And so it's great to have an ideal day, right? Ideal day is on the beach, sipping margaritas, out in Southeast Asia, wherever you are, whatever.
That's only great for like 2 weeks, and then it's time to get to work.
and then if you're passionate, you have other things you want to do anyway, right? So an ideal average day is what is a day not hanging out like that look like? And I remember I wrote it down. I put a list up on my wall, and it was something like this. It was I wake up in the morning, I work out with my personal trainer, I have something healthy to eat for breakfast, I coach a couple of clients, I have lunch with my wife. And I went through this thing I put up on the wall, and I forgot about it. And then one day I was teaching a client about this a few months later, and I looked up at mine to describe it to her, and I realized, oh my God, that I've created it. I'm living that day right now. And so
were you grateful, or were you like, whoa, this is it? Or did it just kind of you just kind of pass? It happened. And then I'm wondering
I'm grateful every day. I mean, I don't forget it. I used to be a high school teacher. I worked 6 days a week. I love my job. I've always worked hard. So I worked 6 days a week. I would get into work at 7 a.m. I'd leave at 8, 9 o'clock at night during the week. And I'd work on a Saturday too. I worked hard as in the first part of my career. Now I still work hard, but I get to have choice around when I work. And so when I'm on, I want to be fully on, or I want to find a way to be off and tune out. So I've just been playing with my assistant. We just come back from 2 weeks in London with my family. I had my assistant change my email password. So I literally could not get into my email or Facebook too. And I haven't got self-control. The best scientists on the planet right now work for Google and Facebook to make those things more addictive for us, to draw us constantly. So I literally have to turn them off. And I use my assistant now to change my password, lock me out, so I can do what I need to do, which is to have fun, be with family.
What I get from you is you are very in tune with what serves you and what does not serve you, and you set parameters to make sure that you don't do the things that don't serve you. Even as you said, I don't work before 9 a.m. That's for my kids. I don't work past 5 p.m. That's it. And I only work 3 clients I work with a week. It's like you have a strict idea of what you want your day to look like, and you've created that day. What would you say are some common mistakes that people make when they are trying to design their life in such a way that you have?
Well, maybe it's even in the question you asked earlier, how do I become more productive? A lot of stuff out there now about productivity. And I don't think it's about producing more. I think maybe it's even less. One of the heuristics, one of the rules of thumb I live by is less is more.
Less is more.
Less is
it's
more.
Like essentialism.
So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so what can I do that will have the biggest impact? Not how do I do the most, but where do I really put my attention? I can dive in deep. And that's what interests me more than trying to be productive. That's what I mean. Creative rather than productive.
Mm.
I'm moving to checking email once a week. And this might make you laugh. I literally came back from this vacation and I said to my assistant, this is great. We came back from my 2-week vacation. I went through the emails with her and we handled in an hour or so 2 weeks worth of emails. So I said, it's dawning on me. Maybe I don't need to be answering emails every day. And so it's too hard to change my password every day and then get a new password. So I've just done this on my word. And I've said to her, okay, I'm not going to check my email for a week. I'll give you my word. If I check email in the next 7 days, she will write a check from me to Donald Trump, who's someone who I don't want to see getting money from me. And so on the pain of that forfeit, I'm keeping my word. So I put things in place because present day self can be a great dreamer and a great visionary. Future self is weak. So I know I cannot have junk food in my house. If there's junk food in the house, I can say I won't eat it. I'll be fine. But my future self will walk into the kitchen, see the junk food, and he'll eat it. I told my wife knows that. She came home one Christmas with some chocolate. I said, please, you got to take the chocolate away, hide it from me. She hid it somewhere, but one day she went out and I knew it was in the house. I tracked it down. I ate the whole box of chocolate. Our future self is weak. So I have to.
That's a good distinction there. Yeah, present self is strong. Present self could be motivated. Present self could be at an event. Present self could be reading a book. But future self is potentially not, and it could bite you then.
Not just potentially, absolutely not. I mean, present day self knows I need to eat healthily. I need to go to the gym every day. I need to meditate. I need to focus on these aspects of my business. And future self, well, I'll just answer the email right now. Well, it's just one pizza. Well, if I sleep in tonight and miss one workout, it happens enough on a regular basis. Future self is weak. It's not a bad thing. It's just knowing how I am. I won't speak for everybody out there. I know how I am. I put things in place that really serve me.
Yeah, really good. I'm learning a ton here. I know the audience is really excited about the direction that this show's going. Let's take it a bit deeper here and go into the knowledge round. Just going to ask you a few more rapid fire questions here. Cool. So, Rich, are you ready for the knowledge round?
Let's play.
Have you ever felt like you weren't the strong, grounded man that you know you're capable of becoming? Like there's something more inside of you, but you don't know how to get it out. Me too. Years ago, I was broke, sleeping on my brother's couch, and just got out of a serious breakup that left me on the floor for months. Now, I have a multiple six-figure business. I'm in the best shape of my life, have an abundant dating life, and live on the beach here in San Diego. I want you to break through too and create the life that you want. And because people kept asking me so many questions, I've created this free video training series on becoming a strong, grounded man so that you can have more freedom, love, and connection in your life. I'll also teach you how to build real backbone to boost your masculinity as a man so that you can have more respect, power, and confidence personally and professionally. Simply go to kfmconfidence.com to get this training. Again, that's kfmconfidence.com. Also, I share the number one conversation that your father never had with you about women. That will be a major wake-up call for 90% of you and will improve the quality of your relationships forever. Go to kfmconfidence.com to get this free training today. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime.
First question I have for you, and these are more shorter, kind of what comes to your mind type of responses, gut responses, is what advice would you give to someone who is unsure of their purpose?
Forget about that question. It doesn't serve to think about what's my purpose. Just find something you love, keep doing it. Find something you hate, keep doing it, because even if you hate it, just be determined to be the best person you can be at that thing that you hate, and things will just open up from there.
I like it. What do you think, from your experience with coaching, is the biggest thing here that is holding men back from becoming the man they want to be?
Well, I won't speak for all men. I'll speak for myself. I went to listen to David Data last night. He was here in Venice.
Oh, great.
In LA. And I can be super successful in business. I can be a great dad. There are moments when I'm great in relationship, but then that little boy inside of me, my wife says one word or looks at me in a certain way that triggers me, and I go back to, I'd be embarrassed. You'd see that part of me that shows up sometimes. So in relationship is the biggest challenge for me. There's a lovely book called No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, Dr. Glover.
Yeah, and it's such a powerful book for me because I was raised to be a nice guy. I was raised to take care of women and be respectful, and there are places where that's totally valid. And in relationship, there's a place where that doesn't feel good to my wife. So that there's my biggest struggle in relationship.
How have you handled or managed or tamed the nice guy inside of you?
I've been in a men's group for 7 years. I came to LA and I knew I wanted to be in a men's group. I used to help with doing some work, training men around relationships. But when I came to LA, I didn't want to be in a men's group. I wanted to have a group of peers who play at a really high level. And for 7 years now, almost every week for 7 years, I've got together with these guys for really, really challenging, deep work. And we've got a guy in the group who works at NASA, a guy in the group who is trains with David Data at a high level. We've got a guy who leads men's work. We've got a guy who's one of the world's top headhunters. We're a very powerful group, been running for a long time.
Is that a paid group?
No, there have been between 4 to 7 of us at any one time. We're down at 4 right now. It's a closed group, which means that not just anybody can come. We're actually interviewing right now. So we are interviewing men looking for people who really play at a high level, can challenge us as well as we can challenge them, are open to being challenged. So this is a group of guys. This is that one space in my life where I know once a week, once every other week, I get to sit down with a group of guys who call me out on my bullshit, where I can look impressive to other people. They know me. They know that actually that might look impressive, but I'm playing small. Or they know I'm hiding something that nobody else can see. That's really served me in my relationship.
Yeah. So being around powerful men in a circle of men has helped you grow as a man and really helped you around the nice guy behaviors.
Totally.
I see. And so we've talked about a few books so far, actually a lot of books in this episode so far, which is great. I love reading, as you can see behind me. What would you say are 3 of your most influential books that have helped you on your journey, and why?
I find this a difficult question as well. I see your bookshelf, you see a little bit of my bookshelf behind me. I'm constantly reading and constantly learning. So it never stops. So I'm going to tell you what's on my desk right now, because that'll be interesting. So there's a book called Stand Out by Dory Clark, which is about being a leader in the world and finding what makes you unique, what makes you different. I've got a book by Cameron Harold called Double Double, which is about taking your business to the next level. This is about how to double your revenue and profit in 3 years or less, is the subtitle. I can't tell you if these are good books yet or not. I'm reading them. I'm constantly reading. The thing for me about a book is I'm always looking for, in business books, I used to pride myself in finishing a book. These days, I look for a single distinction that I can take out and I can use. And then sometimes I'm complete. I don't have to finish the book. I'm always looking for new stuff. And so that for me is what interests me.
Yeah. Some books, you hear one thing and it's like, okay, I'm going to go do that. I'm done. And then you come back to it. All right, there's more, and you keep doing it. But the goal is not to finish the book. The goal is to implement find what you need and then implement what you need to move the needle forward. Totally. Rich, this next one's more of a scenario here for you. So imagine you had 60 seconds with 25-year-old Rich. If you can envision where he's at personally, professionally, in his relationships at the moment, what would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
2 ways I can answer this. The one I have to say is nothing. I'd say, son, you're doing well. Just keep going. Because if 25-year-old Rich hadn't screwed up, made all the mistakes he made, fell down enough times the way I did, I wouldn't be here now. So coming along with great guidance and great advice and great wisdom, I don't know how much that would serve him. It wouldn't be the me who's sitting here talking to you right now. That's the challenge with a question like that. So I wouldn't want a time machine to go back and help that guy, because I don't know who'd be sitting here in front of you. I was dating women in London looking for my dream woman and struggling to find that woman. Lost my job, went off to sit on a beach in Thailand, spent 6 months reflecting on relationship and got really clear. I am not meant for marriage. It is not for me. I shouldn't be married. I'm going to let that one go. And so all that work I'd done to meet the right woman, I was doing online dating, speed dating, all the stuff. And I let it all go. Got really clear. Came to the United States, Monique. 9 days later, I realized I want to propose to her. I got nervous, took a day to reflect on it. And 10 days after I met her, I proposed to her. She didn't meet lots of the things on my checklist of what my perfect woman was supposed to be like, look like, show up like. But something inside of me just said yes. And I think that's what it's like in life. You've got to you take risks sometimes. This part of our brain that sometimes thinks too much. So I don't know, a long-winded answer, but I don't think I would say anything to that 25-year-old self, because he got me here. I'd say thank you.
I like it. It's rare. Most guys have a laundry list.
Yeah.
I think there you go. You're different. And what I can pull from that, and what the audience can pull from that, if they're looking for something more, is that the past, those mistakes are in many ways your gifts. Those are the lessons that can get you to where you're going to be. And as Steve Jobs said, I'm sure we've heard it many times in his commencement speech, you can't connect those dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. And so a lot of those dots, those things happening to you right now, could be some of the greatest things that will take you to that next level in the future. Now, finishing up here, really just wanted to dive into I feel like I've got such a good grasp on how you're thinking. I mean, I've gone through your materials and stuff too before this interview, of course, but your philosophy on life. I'd like to hear it from you and to share that with the audience. What is your philosophy on life? Big question. I know. I'd like to see.
It's good. Look. I'm reflecting because what I live into is what I call my manifesto. So let me tell you about my manifesto. This is where I did some deep reflection to find out how do I create an extraordinary life for myself? So there are 7 parts of it. I'll read them out to you. This is something I have, at times I'll read every single day. At times I'll leave it for a while. But when I do this reflection on these aspects of my life, and this is a document that I work on over time, but my manifesto, for me, this isn't for any other guy out there other than for myself. I looked at what serves me, what holds me back. Number 1, I approve of me. You see, I spent my whole life seeking approval. And it dawned on me one day that if I just approved of myself, I just finally relax and show up the most powerfully I could. So number 1, I remind myself, I approve of me. Number 2, I am my word. There's nothing important than my word. When I make a commitment to you, my word creates my world creates my future. So my word. Number 3, space. Space is where miracles occur. So I do my best to create as much space as possible in my life. Space for being with my kids, space for reflecting deeply on life, space for reflecting deeply on my business, or for putting my attention on my clients. 4th one, money. Money is the most perfect expression of my creativity. Money is the most perfect expression of my creativity. I used to, my bank account would get low and I'd get scared. My bank account would go high and I'd feel good and I'd spend money. Until I realized, if money is the most perfect expression of my creativity, what that means is if I want to make more money, I need to get more creative. And it also means when my bank account is low, time to get out and go be more creative. My bank account is high. I now get to look back and go, I've been really creative this month. And then I can even get creative with what I do with my money and where I put it. But money is the most perfect expression of my creativity. Number 5 is about my relationship. And there's a couple of pieces to this. One is I keep my word to Monique. It's really important to my wife that I keep my word to her. And number 2, she doesn't like this one so much, but I take nothing Monique says seriously.
Wait, it says her name in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is mine. This is my
this
wife.
on the wall? Is this like a credo you have on the wall?
I'm looking in front of me right now. It's on my computer. I have it printed out. Yeah. I have it on my phone. Yeah. I call it a manifesto. But
why do you say take nothing she says seriously? Is that what it was?
I take nothing Monique says seriously.
And why is that in there?
Because she can say one word to me and I feel I've been disrespected. I feel that I'm being treated badly. Whatever it is, I get triggered and it's my stuff. And reminding myself not to take what she says seriously helps me relax and not take myself so seriously. And then we get to really connect and go deeper in relationship.
Yeah, I like that.
Next one, 2 more. Next one about my boys. I don't tell my boys how to live. I live fully and I let them watch me do just that. I live, let my boys watch me. That's how I instead of telling them how to live. The last one is about God. I'm ready to meet God. I'm ready to meet God. This came from, I was invited to a funeral of a friend of mine. His friend passed away and I went to meet him and he said, would you like to come along to the funeral before we meet up? And I went along to the funeral, and one of the things they said in the eulogy is this man lived his life ready to meet God. And he passed away, and it was an awful bike accident. It was just a mountain biking accident, one of those freak accidents. A young guy in his 40s or 50s, but he had young children, had a wife, but he lived life ready to meet God. He had all his affairs in order. He created money to take care of the family. He made sure that his business was taken care of, his clients were taken care of. He lived every day as if it would be his last. And that's what I live life ready to meet God.
I really respect and appreciate you sharing with me these. It's 7, right? I have 7. Okay. And how long did it take for you to come up with these 7 things here? Was this years in the making? Or was this something that you sat down and wrote on the beach, perhaps in Thailand?
Yeah, years in the making. I think at least 4 years ago was when I first started working on this with one of my coaches. And it's been a constant flux ever since. So it changes. I reflect on it and I think, actually this one's not so relevant for me anymore. Let's put something else in. I'll add something in because it will really strike me. So this currently is my personal manifesto.
And how often do you review the personal manifesto?
It varies. I'm realizing right now I haven't looked at it for a few months, but there are times when I look at it every day or every week. And there are times when life, I think, what it is? It's having kids right now. Life is full on, but it's a good reminder for me to just slow down and start looking at that once again.
I like all of them, of course, but the one that kind of stood out to me was I don't tell my boys how to live. I live fully and let them watch me. I really like that because I feel that even myself, like if I really want boys too, I don't have kids now, but I want to kind of give them the life that, I wanted to live. Right. And I like what you put in there because you're really giving them freedom to be. I think that's how, in my experience growing up, a lot of fathers were, which was kind of living the way that they wanted to live through their kids.
Yeah. Look, that piece aside, this isn't a prescription. Mm-hmm. This is a description of what serves me.
Yeah.
If you want to create an amazing life, it can serve you to create what I call a manifesto, a list of ways of being in the world that have, when you show up this way, life becomes more extraordinary.
Yeah. This has been fantastic. Rich, you crushed, you passed the knowledge round, Rich.
It was pass or fail. I didn't realize.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. This was great. No, really good content, really good value add to myself included, and also the listeners here. And so now that concludes the knowledge round. I'm interested in what is really exciting you today. What's jumping you out of bed in the morning, moving forward in this year?
Oh, that's a good one. The big project I'm working on right now is 4PC. This is my group of extraordinary leaders. We've just had a man called Jean-Louis Rodriguez come and train us. He's Leonardo DiCaprio's acting coach. Okay. He's trained Ian McKellen. He's trained some of the top actors on the planet. He came and worked with us about being present, being in the moment. I bring along extraordinary guests to my community. We've had this year a man who's a scientist working on the Hyperloop. That's the high-speed train. We've had a woman who worked in old-style Hollywood back in the day come and talk to us what that was like. We have a woman who was on Shark Tank, had Mark Cuban as an investor. We've brought some extraordinary guests along. I'm curating a group of extraordinary leaders. It's funny as well. I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm not shy. Introversion doesn't mean you're shy. Being an introvert means that being with people takes a lot of energy from me. So I'll go to a party, and when a party's over, I'm done. I want to sit at home, watch movies for 3 days in a row. I don't need to go out. My wife's an extrovert. We've come out of a party. She wants to go to the next one. And it turns out that this man, who's a bit of an introvert, actually, is, over the years, I've discovered I've become extraordinarily good at curating communities of amazing people. And that's what I love to do. I run 2 big events a year for coaches here in LA, and I have this community of extraordinary leaders called 4PC.
That's great. And for all the listeners, you can follow up with Rich at richlitvin.com. You can simply go to Google and it pops right up, number 1. You can also see other works that he's created. You can also go to Amazon and check out The Prosperous Coach. Just Google his name. It pops right up, number 1. I'm doing it right now. And so richlitvin.com, you can see a lot of the great work that he puts out and learn more about the programs he offers. Rich, thank you so much for being here on the show and dedicating this time to my audience and being vulnerable, sharing your truth, and giving us a ton of invaluable knowledge that'll help us move forward in our lives. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Andrew. This is great work that you do. We didn't have this growing up, right? I look at my boys now and just think about what's possible for them because they have access to so much knowledge and wisdom in this way. So thanks for what you do.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and millions of downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we're just getting started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a helpful review in iTunes because it really helps the podcast grow so we can impact even more men in the world who need this. Guys, this is all about living with purpose, where every day you only do things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. And always remember, love the life you have while creating the life of your dreams. Go to kfmfree.com to get a surprise bonus I've made for my listeners. Again, that's kfmfree.com for something that's changed my life, and I'm offering it to you for free. Also, check out my Amazon best-selling books that I've written for you to help you crush life at kfmauthor.com. Again, that's kfmauthor.com to see all the books I've created to help you break through in life. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, founder of KnowledgeForMen.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.